Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, hi, Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom, Shalom, hi, Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome to the Yahweh and Yahshua Speak Show. We are in the last day of the High Holy Day, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, 7th day. We want to start out in Genesis, the 7th chapter. So, there's a lot of deception that's going around during this. It's sometimes called the Passover season. It includes the Passover, the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and the 7th day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And the Passover, let me just say the title of the lesson is, Be Not Deceived About Keeping the Passover at Home. That was a one and done. Again, the title of the lesson is, Do Not Be Deceived About Keeping the Passover at Home. That was a one and done. There is a lot of falsity circulating, and the world thinks they have a lot of options. But now it has come into Yahweh's people. Why? Well, because we're coming up out of deception. And there are some looking at the world thinking that they have these options, like the world had picked some options.
Right, tell like it is.
They think they have the option to do Yahweh's holy days like they feel like they want to do them, just like the world doing this pagan thing tomorrow with Easter, think they have an option about keeping Easter instead of the Passover. Going to Genesis 7. So the Passover was part of the reinstitution of Yahweh's sacrificial law.
All right, bro.
Which was set up in Genesis, the 3rd chapter. See, the Passover was the reinstitution of it because why? They had gone into captivity for 430 years. And so Yahweh was reinstituting what he had set up in Genesis, part of his laws, statutes, commandments for his nation of Israel, which is supposed to be the standard for the whole world.
Yes, tell it like it is, Ron.
Genesis 7. And so Noah took animals on the boat to sacrifice. Remember now, he had a flood to kill all those people that thought they had all these options, A, B, C, D, and E.
Yeah.
All right, to do something different than Yahweh said. So Yahweh killed everybody except for 8 people. Genesis 7 and 2. But so when he went on the ark, he told Noah to take 2 of every animal, but he said take 7 of the clean animals. Why? Because the sacrificial law he was continuing. And they might have been doing something on the boat while they, you understand? We do certain things sometimes and don't mean to.
Right.
But now in Genesis 7 and 2, we're going to see, he started the sacrificial law in Genesis 3. Now he's making sure it crosses over the flood.
Yeah.
So the sacrificial law didn't stop till Yahshua came.
That's it.
All right, Genesis 7 and verse 2.
Hallelujah.
Genesis chapter 7 and verse 2. Of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by sevens, the male and his female, and of beasts that are not clean by 2, the male and his female.
Right, so of every clean beast, he told Noah to take 7 of them, in other words 14, male and female. And of beasts that are not clean, take 2, just take 1 male and female. What were the rest of these clean beasts for? Sacrificing to Yahweh, to continue the sacrificial law. Go to Exodus 12th chapter. So Noah got off the boat and offered clean beast sacrifices. That's one of the first things he did. And you read the account in Genesis yourself. We're not going to read it because we have the Ruach has a point that Yahweh wants to make. To not be deceived following the world, looking at all this stuff that they're doing that they made up.
Right.
But Noah got off the boat and offered those clean beast sacrifices. Exodus the 12th chapter. We want to read verses 3 to 4.
Hallelujah.
Exodus 12. Now we're looking at the Passover, which is part of the reinstitution of the sacrificial law that started in Genesis 3.
Hallelujah.
Exodus 12, chapter 12, verses 3 to 4, and it reads.
Exodus chapter 12 and verse 3. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Yisrael, saying, in the 10th day of this month, they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house. Verse 4, and if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb.
Bless Yahweh for his word. So he says, speak unto the congregation of Israel and tell them, in the 10th day of this month, take every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house. Well, if the house is too little, he said, let him and his neighbor next door take it. If that house was too little, then it could have been maybe 2 or 3 houses that they shared the lamb. It says, every man according to his eating shall make your account for the lamb. So the sacrificial law was always made for spiritual purposes.
Yeah.
To take precedence over what was going on in the natural.
Right,
It
right.
covered people's mess ups. It covered people's sin. The Passover was instituted and kept at home when it was first ordained by Yahweh. An ordinance or something ordained by Yahweh is a divine law.
Yes, it is.
Every divine law Yahweh has made has been challenged and or changed by men.
Y'all right.
Every single one of them. Skip down to the 7th verse. Exodus 12 and verse 7. So we see now they had to stretch that lamb to make sure that it fit however many houses if the house was too little. Okay? 7.
Verse 7, and they shall take of the blood and strike it on the 2 side posts and on the upper door posts of the houses wherein they shall eat it.
All right, so now it's talking about the lamb, and if there weren't enough people in one house, it said they should take of the blood, strike it on the side posts and the upper door posts of the houses. So if it was 2 or 3 houses, they used the same lamb's blood on those houses, one lamb. All right, so the first Passover celebration was instituted at home and ordained to go from the home to the temple.
Yes.
It was not something at home.
I know.
Now what we're going to find out is that since 70 AD, when the Romans kicked the last of our people, or Yahweh used the Romans
Y'all right,
to get the last of our people out of the land of Israel, the home-based Passovers started coming into fruition. Going back to the land of Mizraim with this first Passover. Why? Because some people don't believe Yahshua ever came. So they still, they're down in Egypt,
Y'all right.
waiting for the death angel to pass through.
I know, right?
Yahweh set up the priesthood when they had no temple and were transitioning into a nation. Go to 2 Chronicles.
Right.
Why did he do that?
Right.
Because they were in charge. He put them in charge of sacrificial law. Officially. 2 Chronicles 30. See, this Yahweh is trying to get it official.
I know,
Now,
right?
certainly, individually, our forefathers sacrificed the lambs and things for different sins. But now Yahweh's making them into a nation.
Okay.
He's taking it from an individual thing into a national thing. 2 Chronicles chapter 30. And we want to read verse 17.
Great.
2 Chronicles
Mighty Yah.
chapter 30 and verse 17 reads.
2 Chronicles chapter 30 and verse 17. For there were many in the congregation that were not sanctified. Therefore the Levites had the charge of the killing of the Passovers for everyone that was not clean, to sanctify them unto Yahweh.
Now, you're looking at when Israel has gotten away and went in and out of captivity again.
Yahweh.
It wasn't Egypt, wasn't
Right.
Mizraim.
Tell it like it is.
But in between, when Yahweh ordained the Passover and set it up to get them up out of Mizraim, they went in and out of captivity, all right? And now they're coming back, and Yahweh is again reinstituting,
Yes.
resetting up
Yes.
his sacrificial law, resetting up his standard of what's
Yes.
supposed to be happening in
Yes.
the earth. It says, for there were many in the congregation, talking about Hebrews, that were not sanctified. Therefore the Levites had the charge of the killing of the Passovers. You see that's plural, right?
Right.
Passovers, talking about the lambs.
That's right.
So Yahweh instituted the first Passover at home and ordained it to go from the home to the temple.
Yep.
Now he hasn't changed.
No,
What
yeah.
Yahweh is showing us is that Hebrews go in and out of captivity, depending on whether they're obeying Yahweh or not. Then they start losing what Yahweh told them to do. Then Yahweh in his mercy steps in and starts showing them the right way. He set things up to be done.
Yes.
But there are some Hebrews that get left behind, or in the arrogance of their mind think that they have these pagan options like the heathen do to do things different than what Yahweh said, or they haven't gotten into the scriptures where Yahweh can reveal to them what he actually set up and how he actually had things done. And they keep wanting to go back to yesterday.
Right.
They make these songs about yesterday was so this and that. No, Yahweh's bringing you up to today.
Today to move forward.
So at the Passover's first institution, it was kept in the home.
Right.
Then it was kept in large groups.
Yes.
Then it was kept at the temple. Go to Exodus 32.
Hallelujah.
In the Egyptian captivity, the Hebrews had stopped keeping Yahweh's sacrificial laws. They were in Egypt for 430 years.
I know, right?
And you know, they weren't going to be sacrificing their goats or whatever. They pretty much totally forgot all about Yahweh's sacrificial law for the most part as far as doing it. Now, there might have been a few because Yahweh always has a remnant of individuals that obey him whether they're in captivity or out. But the nation as a whole follows the heathen practices in captivity. And they let go of Yahweh. Yahweh recorded that from Genesis to Revelation. So what we as Hebrews have to do is catch up and see what Yahweh is telling us. All right? So the Passover started at home, then it was kept in large groups, then it was kept at the temple. As soon as the Hebrews got out of captivity, we can see what they were doing in 430 years in Egypt. They built the gods they were worshiping in captivity. All right, Exodus 32. Now they were, and Yahweh, they only took what Yahweh said, hey, just take whatever, you can't take a whole lot of stuff. All right, but as soon as they got out of Egypt, they built the false gods that they were worshiping following the heathen. Exodus chapter 32, verses 3 to 5.
Hallelujah.
And let's read it.
Exodus chapter 32 and verse 3. And all the people brake off the golden earrings which were in their ears and brought them unto Aharon. Verse 4. And he received them at their hand and fashioned it with a graving tool, after he had made it a molten calf. And they said, these be thy Elohims, O Yisrael, which brought thee up out of the land of Mizraim. Verse 5. And when Aharon saw it, he built an altar before it. And Aharon made proclamation and said, tomorrow is a feast to Yahweh.
Now, where did Aharon get this? From our forefathers.
Right.
He understood some stuff about worshiping Yahweh. Plus, he was of the Levites, the priestly tribe that Yahweh initially used to teach his people, to keep teaching his people Yahweh's laws, statutes, and commandments in his feast days. Aharon, you read up above earlier, he said, okay, you know what, give me your earrings. And then in another account it talks about him it says it turned into a calf. No, they worship calves in Egypt.
I
This
know,
is what
right?
they were doing in slavery. He knew that this is what the people wanted to do.
Right.
All right, and he was a weak leader at that point.
Yeah, yeah.
Yahweh had to take him through some stuff.
Yep.
All right, it said he made the calf, and then he gonna tell them, hey, these are your elders
I
that brought
know,
you out of
right?
Mizraim. They forget about Yahweh. Why? They had been in heathen captivity, watching heathen practices. They started doing heathen practices.
Yep.
He said, and then when Aaron saw it, now here he gonna build an altar.
I know,
Well, he
right?
knew about Yaakov and all his forefathers building altars to
Right.
worship Yahweh. So he just transported it over to the heathen practice.
Right.
All right? Or the heathen found out what the Hebrews were doing to their
Yeah.
Elohim.
Right.
And they started doing it to their Elohim. All right? But now the heathen are confused. You shouldn't be.
I know, right?
Well, you know why they build an altar to Yahweh? Yahweh's the one that first started.
I
Well,
know,
see,
right?
the Egyptians, they built altars. Yeah, they copying Yahweh.
That's right, you're right.
The devil
Rob.
copies
Tell like that.
everything from Yahweh. He has nothing of his own. All right? He's not an originator.
Nope.
All right? He can't think creatively. So when Hebrews are in captivity, they forget Yahweh's laws.
Yes,
Go to
they
Exodus 13 chapter. So you might as well understand that now.
Right.
That's a spiritual law. They don't have to, but they do because the flesh is weak and the flesh go along with the rest of the
I
people.
know, with the crowd.
And the heathen make it look like it's so much
I
fun
know.
to be
That's
doing
right.
what they're
Yeah,
doing.
devil.
Yep. They having a
So
good
when
time.
Hebrews are in captivity, they forget Yahweh's laws. The scriptures record them keeping and breaking them. But he always keeps a remnant of individual Hebrews
Yes.
who obey him whether they are in
Yes.
captivity or not.
Right on.
Amen.
The Hebrew nation in captivity, though, the nation now, goes into and out of deception following the heathen.
That right.
Whether it's you got different types of captivity. We're in captivity, but it's not a persecuted captivity.
Right.
Where they're forbidding you to worship Yahweh or forbidding you to worship like you choose to worship. Then there's that persecuted captivity
Uh-huh.
where sometimes they did keep the Passover and the feast days at home at the risk of death.
Right.
All right, so we're not in a persecuted captivity.
Nope.
All right, but the Hebrew nation in captivity, whether it's persecuted or not, goes into and out of deception following the heathen. This is a choice that they make in ignorance or they make deliberately after they find out the truth.
Yep. Y'all right. Tell like it is.
There is a heathen deception that Hebrews have a choice between keeping the Passover at home or at the temple anytime and anywhere. So it's not only out there in the heathen world. You have Hebrews thinking they can keep the Passover anywhere, anytime.
Yep.
We're going to look in this lesson about the heathen. They can pack up their little stuff.
Yeah.
They don't call it Passover anymore. They call it communion, but they can
Right.
pack up little stuff, and when they feel like it,
Uh-huh. Y'all right.
they just
Tell
break
like
it out.
Yeah.
All right?
Hams can know.
They're deceived.
Yeah.
That's why Yahweh gave us his word so we can come out of deception.
Yes, we have.
Exodus chapter 13, we want to read verses 9 to 10.
Hallelujah.
Exodus chapter
Praise
13
the
and
mighty God.
verses 9 to 10 reads.
Exodus chapter 13 and verse 9. And it shall be for a sign unto thee upon thy hand, and for a memorial between thine eyes, that Yahweh's law may be in thy mouth. For with a strong hand hath Yahweh brought thee out of Mizraim. Verse 10. Thou shalt therefore keep this ordinance in his season from year to year.
All right, it says, Hebrews is a sign upon you, upon your hand, and for a memorial between your eyes, in your mind, that Yahweh's law may be in your mouth. For with a strong hand, Yahweh brought you out of Egypt or Mizraim. Now, it's not just talking about ancient Egypt.
No, it's not.
It's talking about whatever Egypt had us bound up
That's
out
right.
here in this United Snakes of America.
Right.
Whatever we were off into that wasn't
Right.
Yahweh.
Right.
All right? He said, the sign that's upon you is in your hand. What are we doing on this 7th day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread? We at Yahweh's temple.
Yep.
Yeah.
We fix food. We're doing things for Yahweh.
Our hands.
All right?
His book.
At Yahweh, it says a memorial in your mind, between your eyes. Well, what do we think about? We think about Yahweh.
All right.
We glad this is a holy day. We glad, even
Yeah.
though it's the weekly Shabbat, we glad that we wouldn't have to go secular job or
Yeah.
wash dishes or anything at our house.
Yeah.
That's in your mind.
Uh-huh.
All right? And Yahweh's law is in our mouth. We talking about
All right.
the Feast of Unleavened Bread.
Yeah.
Okay? He said, thou therefore, Hebrews, keep this ordinance in his season.
This season.
And it said from year to year.
That right.
I can't take no Passover, they call it communion.
Right.
The wafer and the wine with me and just unpack it whenever I feel like it. Yahweh said in his season, the Passover season.
Year to year.
And he said from year to year.
Mm.
Go to Numbers, the 9th chapter.
Praise the mighty Yah.
But the heathen world says you can do that.
Uh-huh.
And Hebrews following the heathen world,
All right.
they got into that.
Every
Verse
month
9.
they do it. Oh, praise Yahweh.
Yahweh said in the end times, knowledge will be increased.
Yep.
And he's taking the cover off of everything.
Right. If you listen to
He's
him.
letting all of the Hebrews know
Right.
his truth. Numbers 9. And we want to read verses 1 to 5.
Hallelujah.
Numbers chapter 9, verses 1 to 5. And I may stop you in between. Let's read it.
Numbers chapter 9, verse 1. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe in the wilderness of Sinai, in the first month of the second year, after they were come out of the land of Mizraim, saying, chapter 2, verse 2. Let the children of Israel also keep the Passover at his appointed season.
All right. Praise Yahweh for his word. It says in Yahweh, he's making a Moshe in the wilderness in the first month of the second year after they came out of Egypt. So he's giving you the timetable now. It's a year later, right?
Right.
Let the children of Israel also keep the Pesach at his appointed season. We just saw in another scripture, it's year to year. Ain't nothing portable about the Passover,
Nope.
whether they call it communion or not. I can't do it anywhere and anytime I feel like I want to do it.
Right.
All right, verse 3.
Verse 3. In the 14th day of this month, at even, ye shall keep it in his appointed season, according to all the rites of it, and according to all the ceremonies thereof, shall ye keep it. Verse 4. And Moshe spake unto the children of Israel, that they should keep the Passover.
Bless Yahweh for his word. So here's the man of Yahweh keeps saying over and over, keep the Passover, keep the Passover. It's a year later now after they came out of Egypt. In the 14th day of this month at even, that's the first month, same month we're in now, ye shall keep it in his appointed season. It's always the first day of the 14th month
That's
at
right.
even.
All right.
It's not every other Sunday at no pagan
No.
Roman church
No,
or
it's
no
not.
Hebrew church. Every other Shabbat.
Right.
According to all the rites of it and according to all the ceremonies thereof
Yep,
shall
yep.
you keep it.
Yep.
And he said again, they should keep the Passover. But now you got to know how to keep it.
Right.
Because the heathen done told you,
Uh-huh.
you got some options about how to keep it. But what did your father Yahweh tell you? Or is he your father?
That's one. That's the question.
I like the way the Ruach has Yahshua saying, is Yahweh your father or is your daddy the devil?
That's it. One or the other.
There's no in between.
No.
If you're not doing it the way your father Yahweh said, then he's not your father.
That's right.
You can be a Hebrew of Hebrews, like Yahweh said.
Yep.
All
Yep.
right, verse 5.
Verse 5. And they kept the Passover on the 14th day of the first month at even in the wilderness of Sinai, according to all that Yahweh commanded Moshe, so did the children of Israel.
All right,
Praise
so
God.
it doesn't talk about nobody being in houses. Well, they were in the wilderness.
Right.
Don't talk about them being in the tent. Don't talk
Right.
about them putting blood on the tents. That was a one and done in the
Yeah.
house.
That's it.
They didn't put no blood on the tents.
I know, right?
It says they kept the Passover on 14th day of the first month, at even in the wilderness of Sinai.
Right?
So you don't know if it was a big group of them keeping the Passover. You understand? So we can't just jump over and say, well, see, it says they kept it in the wilderness of Sinai. You know, it was a whole big group of people doing it.
Yep. Yep.
You know, the first time they kept it, they were in those homes for protection
Yep.
because the death angel was coming through.
Y'all right, bro.
And Yahweh ordered them, commanded them to be stay inside the house.
Yeah.
And sadly, no doubt, there was some hard-headed
You know
Hebrews
that. You know that's
that
right.
didn't do what Yahweh said,
That's like today.
didn't kill the lamb, didn't put the blood up there.
Don't believe in the
and
lamb.
their firstborn died. All right, go to Luke, the 22nd chapter. So in the beginning of the Roman captivity, and we're still in the Roman captivity.
Right. Y'all right.
It's just not a persecuted
That's
captivity.
it.
It is recorded that Hebrews did not keep the Passover at home. And guess what? It's at Yahshua's request. Luke, the 22nd chapter.
Praise the mighty Yah.
And they were in captivity, Roman
Right.
captivity. Luke 22. And we want to read verses 8 to 15. We may not read
Hallelujah.
it all, but Luke chapter 22.
Hallelujah.
And let's start reading at verse 8, please.
Luke chapter 22 and verse 8. And he sent Peter and John, saying, Go and prepare us the Passover that we may eat. Verse 9. And they said unto him, Where wilt thou that we prepare? Verse 10. And he said unto them, Behold, when ye are entered into the city, there shall a man meet you, bearing a pitcher of water. Follow him into the house where he entered.
All right, bless Yahweh for his word. Now, what is Yahshua talking about? Peter and them supposed to go to their house and keep the Passover, aren't they?
Yes.
No, they ain't. Yahshua didn't sin. He didn't break Yahweh's law. What is Yahshua telling them? Talking about, he sent Kepha and Yochanan, he said, go and prepare us the Passover that we may eat. Well, they're still killing the lamb. But why didn't Yahshua say, you know what, y'all go home, see, because your family,
Right.
each home is supposed to be preparing the
Right.
Passover.
Right.
Why? Because they had gone through the period where Yahweh had taken it from the home one and done,
One and done.
to the large group, to the temple
Yep.
as an official ceremony.
Hallelujah.
This is after all that. After our people had been in power, had been in the land, kings and queens ruling and reigning, and Yahweh was the ruler over the whole land.
Right.
And they were doing righteously like Yahweh instructed them. This is after all of that.
Right.
Now they've been in and out of captivity. Now this is the last captivity.
Yep.
The
Yeah,
Gentiles,
right.
the Romans. And now Yahshua is saying, okay, go prepare the Passover. Why is Yahshua saying that if they already knew they supposed to keep it at
I
home?
know, right? Y'all right. Tell like it is.
That's a heathen lie
Yep.
in Hebrews' right hands.
I know, right?
He told them, go prepare the Passover that we may eat. And they said, okay, where? Why didn't they know it was at their house?
I know, right?
Because it wasn't.
Y'all right.
He said, okay, go into the city, there's going to be a man that meets you,
Right.
and he's going to tell you where. This is Yahshua saying this. He didn't tell them go home. They didn't, they're asking him, okay, where we going to eat the Passover?
Right.
Why are they doing that?
All right.
If they got the option to do it at home.
I know, right?
All right, 11.
Verse 11. And ye shall say unto the goodman of the house, The master saith unto thee, Where is the guest chamber, where I shall eat the Passover with my disciples? Verse 12. And he shall show you a large upper room furnished. There make ready. Verse 13. And they went and found as he had said unto them, and they made ready the Passover.
All right, so let's stop right there. So you see they went to this upper room,
Right.
and they made ready to do the Passover. Go to Deuteronomy 11. So this heathen practice evolved into a full-blown practice with the destruction of the temple by the Romans in 70 AD.
Right.
Deuteronomy 11. The last Hebrews were removed from the land of Israel and scattered to the four corners of the earth in 70 AD, and they're still scattered.
Yes, we are.
You got a few of them speckled over there
That's it.
in the land of Israel.
Uh-huh.
But they over there hiding from Esau. They ain't control nothing. They ain't running
That's right.
Israel. All right. Deuteronomy 11, and then I want to read a couple of these articles
Say,
about this heathen
Mighty
practice. All right. The pagan origin of communion. Now that's what the heathen have changed the word Passover to communion. All right. This is from classroom.synonym.com. The pagan origin of the communion. The Holy Communion, also known as the Eucharist, is one of the most sacred rituals of Catholicism. We're talking about the Romans now.
right.
We're in captivity under the Romans.
Yes, we are. Y'all right.
We see Yahshua and them was in captivity under the Romans.
Yep.
The Romans are the last Gentile world ruling empire.
Tell it like it is, Rod, so the hams can know.
And so we are in captivity under them. It's just not a persecuted captivity.
Right.
Where you're being forced to worship or do things a certain way. All right? You're not in slavery per se. All right? It says a reenactment of the Last Supper of Jesus and his apostles. That's another thing that they renamed the Passover. The Last Supper.
Right.
All right? Communion involves the ingestion of wine and a wafer that are believed to be the blood and body of Jesus himself. Says Christianity was not the first religion in the area to practice communion, however, and ritual ingestion remains a common practice in many religious traditions worldwide. Then it talks about this god Bacchus in Rome, and where they did the wine and the blood was supposed to be represent him. There's this Mithras, right? M-I-T-H-R-E-S, and then he had the same thing. Then they got the mushroom and the cross, and it's talking about some people ate mushrooms and I guess they got high. Now also the Aztecs over in South America, they would get high and they would be drinking blood and wine.
Yeah.
All right, but they renamed the Passover communion, and they renamed it the Lord's Supper. I got this other article. Taking communion, the Lord's Supper. This is from www.missionariesofprayer.org. It says, this was a supper that Jesus had with his disciples before he was crucified. We call this communion. Hebrews do not.
Right.
Hebrews call this the Passover.
That's what it is.
That's what it was, right. It says, we take them communion because he said we should do this in remembrance of him. That is a heathen lie in people's right hand. He didn't say to take no communion to do in remembrance of him.
Not no communion.
He said to take the Passover to do in remembrance of him.
That's
and
it.
he said to do it once a year in his season.
That right?
Important points about taking communion. 1, is meant to be taken by disciples of Christ. 2, communion is to be taken to remember Christ. 3, you should never approach a communion table flippantly. How can we ever approach anything flippantly? He said, this is a serious thing. It's a holy moment. No, it's not. It's paganism. It is a commemoration of why you have access to the throne room of God. It's why you have access to heaven. No, it's not. Man's saying it, but it's not. The Passover is why you have access to heaven.
Praise.
All right, Deuteronomy 11, let's read verses 15 to 16.
Hallelujah.
Deuteronomy chapter 11 and verse 15. And I will send grass in thy fields for thy cattle, that thou mayest eat and be full. Verse 16. Take heed to yourselves that your heart be not deceived, and ye turn aside and serve other Elohims and worship them.
All right, so here's Yahweh saying, I will send grass in your field for your cattle. He's saying, I'm going to provide all your needs, wants, and desires, that you can eat and be full. And sometimes when people, eating and be full and they all satisfied and stuff, and they, roll over and belch and burp and stuff, then they want to forget Yahweh.
Right.
They want to forget who's actually giving them something and who's actually making things good in their life when they're abundantly supplied. See, that's the thing with the flesh. You can't get so comfortable and so abundantly supplied, then you forget Yahweh and forget who gave it.
Right.
Yahweh put in the scripture, hey, just like I bless you, I can curse your blessing.
Yes, he can. Yes, he has.
All right, it's time for us to wake up. He said, take heed to yourselves. He wake up.
Right.
Let not your mind be deceived. And you turn aside and forget who is blessing you. Forget who woke you up.
I know,
When you
right?
were following the heathen, just like everybody else out there. And turn aside and serve other Els and worship them. How do you turn aside and worship other Elohim? You think you got an option to keep the Passover at home? You think you got an option to keep the feast days at home? You think you got an option to do anything calling yourself a follower of Yahweh that Yahweh didn't put in here?
Right.
Again, we can be ignorant of things,
Uh-huh.
but Yahweh wrote this whole book and told us to study it because he said, I don't want you to be ignorant. I want you to know. Matter of fact, I want you to know so much you can stand up and tell other people
Hallelujah.
how it's done.
Hallelujah.
You're not standing up just telling them how it's done. You are doing it first.
I
They can
know,
actually look at you and see how
Hallelujah.
it's done.
That's
That's
it.
part of what's going on with these Hebrews that's thinking they got some options about the way they keep
I
Yahweh's
know,
holy
right? All
day.
right, Lord.
There are people watching them
Uh-huh.
in confusion.
Yep.
It's hard for them to discern exactly how this thing should be done. But praise Yahweh for those of us that understand that Yahweh is officially doing it at a temple.
Yep.
They can look at us and Yahweh's Hebrews throughout the world that
Yes.
are doing it exactly like he said. So that's clearing up the confusion.
Hallelujah.
If they haven't let their flesh take over and they so comfortable in doing it the way that they want to do it.
Y'all right, right.
Go to Isaiah 44.
I like it is, so damn.
So this last captivity over the Romans, Isaiah 44,
Uh-huh.
has been the longest time of the Hebrews falling prey to and practicing heathen traditions. This is the longest time.
Yeah, yeah.
It's been centuries.
Yes, it has.
Isaiah 44. Many Hebrews now are deceived into thinking they have options regarding how to obey Yahweh's laws, statutes, and ordinances.
No one has an option.
They do not. The king has spoken.
Yep.
And like this lesson says, one and done.
That's it.
He's spoken. He's not talking anymore other than to us individually, leading us and guiding us.
Hallelujah.
Yahshua is not coming back to die anymore. He ain't giving up no more blood. It's done. Now it's time for us to catch up.
That's it.
Isaiah 44, let's read verses 20 to 21.
Hallelujah.
Isaiah chapter 44, verses 20 to 21, please.
Isaiah chapter 44, verse 20. He feedeth on ashes, a deceived heart that hath turned him aside, that he cannot deliver his soul, nor say, is there not a lie in my right hand? Verse 21. Remember these, O Jacob and Yisrael, for thou art my servant. I have formed thee. Thou art my servant, O Yisrael. Thou shalt not be forgotten of me.
All right, so here's Yahweh, bless him for his word. He said the one that's serving the other Elohim, thinking they got all these options about how to serve Yahweh, a deceived mind
Yep.
has turned that Hebrew aside. We know the heathen are turned aside. All right, we used to be heathen. All right, that he cannot deliver his nephesh. He looking for something that don't profit.
Right, right.
Whatever you're doing is different from what Yahweh said, that can help you. Nor say, is there not a lie in my right hand? I got this article, how do I keep the Passover at home? Is there not a lie in my right hand? Yeah, there's a lie in my right hand right now. Is it? Remember these, O Jacob and Yisrael, Hebrews, I'm talking to you.
That
For
right?
thou art my Eved, my servant.
Yeah.
I have formed thee. Thou art my Eved. Yahweh saying, you my servant.
Yeah.
I tell you what to
That's
do.
right.
You don't come to me talking about, look, can I pick, I'll do A, B, or
I
C.
know, right?
O Yisrael, thou shalt not be forgotten of me. He's saying, just do it like I'm
That's
telling you to do
right. We ain't forgotten of them.
it. But there's a lie in my right hand.
Yes, it is. Hold that paper.
www.cgg.org. How do I keep the Passover at home?
Huh?
I don't.
That's it. Point blank.
Now, if I'm in a persecuted captivity,
Oh, yeah.
Yahweh makes some allowances.
Yes,
but I'm not
sir.
in a persecuted captivity.
Not right now.
Matter of fact, I'm so blessed. There's temples all over the place.
Hallelujah.
In Evanston, there's some on the north side, there's some on the north side, there's east, there's some on the north side, there's
Right.
west, there's some on the south side I can go to, there's some in the suburbs.
Yeah.
I can't tell Yahweh that lie about keeping the Passover at home unless I'm deceived. So the Passover, he said, CGG.org says, the Passover may be kept at home alone or with other eligible members only when it is not possible for you to observe it in a formal church ceremony with an ordained minister. Then he goes to Numbers 9 and 11. Then he talks about the person conducted the meeting, the husband or the father, unless one is alone, should begin the service without prayer. Is there not a lie in my right hand?
Yeah.
How you gonna begin
I
something
know, right?
to any deity without prayer?
I know, right?
I mean, this is so clear, even a child can see it.
Right.
And then he says, you know, you can order something available. He talks about the foot washing and the bread and the wine. But either way, I'm going to get this lie out of my right hand.
Right.
All right, let's go to Hebrews 10:25.
Hallelujah.
So Hebrews in deception, following the heathen, think Hebrews 10:25. Hebrews in deception, following the heathen, think they have the option of having a quote-unquote divine Passover at home rather than coming to a temple. They really do.
Yeah.
They're just like this man from CGG.org. And they ain't gonna tell you to have it and don't pray.
I know nothing but the devil.
Yeah. Hebrews 10 and verse 25.
Hallelujah.
Hebrews chapter 10 verse 25 reads.
Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 25. Not forsaking the assembly of ourselves together, as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as you see the day approaching.
Let's
Yes.
do
Praise
26
Yahweh.
Verse 26. For if we sin willfully, after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more sacrifice for sins.
So Yahweh is putting the truth out.
Right.
He said, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together. There's a whole group of Hebrews forsaking the assembling,
Yes, they
not
are.
just the weekly Shabbat.
Huh.
Now it's part of this lie in their right hand,
Right.
this pagan thing that they started after 70 AD.
Right.
And the first thing they did after the rest of the children of Israel got scattered and taken out of the land was they started with this Seder plate.
I know, right?
That was the first home thing
I
that started.
know, right?
The Seder plate.
Y'all right.
That originated from the Pharisees, and now we know who took over from the
Yep.
Pharisees.
Yep.
But the first thing with this home-based thing, having the Passover, it started with the Seder plate. He said, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as the practice of some Hebrews is.
Yeah.
For if we sin willfully, after we receive the knowledge of the truth, Yahshua ain't dying for your sin.
That's
no.
right. It's one and done.
You on your own. Go to 2 Chronicles, the 30th chapter. And you can see it in some Hebrews here in 2 Chronicles, because they've been in and out of captivity.
Yep.
And now here's this king standing up in righteousness, 2 Chronicles, the 30th chapter, and he's asking them to come and reinstitute and
Right.
reobserve officially at the temple,
Right.
like Yahweh said to do.
Hallelujah.
2 Chronicles 30 and verses 1 to 7. 2
Hallelujah.
Chronicles chapter 30, and let's read verses 1 to 7.
Praise God.
2 Chronicles chapter 30 and verse 1. And Hezekiah sent to all Yisrael and Yehudah and wrote letters to Ephraim and Manasseh that they should come to the house of Yahweh at Jerusalem to keep the Passover unto Yahweh Elohim of Yisrael.
So praise Yahweh. Now here's this king now. The king of the Shemites.
All right.
They have been in and out of captivity. Hezekiah wrote to Yisrael and Yehudah.
Okay.
Those Hebrews are not.
I
Yeah.
know, right?
All
All right.
right. Wrote letters also to Ephraim and Manasseh. Those are some of Yasser's sons by
That's
this
right.
Hamite. All
Right.
right. That they should come to the temple of Yahweh at Jerusalem. Okay, we don't have to go to Jerusalem. Yahweh set up little sanctuaries
Yes, he
throughout
has.
the earth
Praise
for
him.
his people to come to.
That right?
Yahweh set up temples all over the place
Yes, he has. Praise him.
to keep the Passover unto Yahweh Elohim of Israel. He said, come to the temple to keep the Passover. Why? Because that was the practice.
Right, right.
The heathen got these options. The heathen got this home Passover, this home communion, this portable communion stuff.
Right, right.
All right, Yahweh wants to open all of our eyes now. So we can see we're different from the heathen.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Verse 2.
Verse 2. For the king had taken counsel, and his princes and all the congregation of Jerusalem, to keep the Passover in the 2nd month.
Isn't that beautiful? Praise Yahweh. It's beautiful when you're among Yahweh's people, the Hebrews, and want to do what Yahweh
Yes.
said and do it exactly like Yahweh said. The king had taken counsel and his princes and
Okay.
all the congregation in Jerusalem. Say, yeah, this is a good thing. We'll please Yahweh doing this.
Yeah.
To keep the Passover in the 2nd month. Why? Because they were all caught up in
Right,
these
right.
heathen ways
They had
the
to get it
first month.
together. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, but they were all of one accord, like
Same.
Ra'ana would say.
Yes.
Right. Verse 3.
Verse 3. For they could not keep it at that time, because the priests had not sanctified themselves sufficiently, neither had the people gathered themselves together to Jerusalem. Verse 4. And the thing pleased the king and all the congregation. Verse 5. So they established a decree to make proclamation throughout all Israel, from Beersheba even to Dan, that they should come to keep the Passover unto Yahweh Elohim of Yisrael at Jerusalem, for they had not done it of a long time in such sort as it was written.
Yeah.
Stop right there. Bless the mighty Yah. So you see what happened? In and out of captivity, the nation stopped doing what Yah. There you
Right,
go.
right, right.
It said they should not keep it because the priests hadn't sanctified themselves. That's why they're doing it in the 2nd month.
Yeah, right.
It says the king thing pleased the king and all the congregation to keep the Passover. So they established a decree to send throughout all Israel
Uh-huh.
that they should come to keep the Passover unto Yahweh Elohim of Israel at Jerusalem, for they had not done it of a long time
Yep.
in such sort as it was written.
Written.
In other words, like Yahweh told them to
That's
do it.
That's right.
So you might have had some home
Oh, yeah.
Passover
You
stuff
know it
going
was.
on there.
You know it was. Thus
Because
says
Israel
Yahweh.
always, Hebrews always got some, just like the world.
Yep.
They always got these alternate things.
Yep.
They're not working. It said it had not been done for a long time, like
Uh-huh.
Yahweh told them to do
That
it.
right?
So here's this man stepping up and saying, let's do it like Yahweh
Yeah.
told us to do it.
Exactly.
Even if it's just a few doing it.
Right.
Well, the only reason it's just a few doing it is because the nation,
Donation. As a whole.
those heathen practices when
Right.
they're in captivity. Whether they are being persecuted in captivity or not.
Right.
That's their practice. They just go along with the heathen.
Thus says Yahweh.
And some of them like it so much, they don't care what Yahweh said. They just keep
I
going
know,
along
right?
with the heathen.
I know, right?
Verse 6.
Verse 6. So the post went with the letters from the king and his princes throughout all Yisrael and Yehudah, and according to the commandment of the king, saying, Ye children of Yisrael, turn again unto Yahweh Elohim of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yisrael, and he will return to the remnant of you that are escaped out of the hand of the kings of Assyria.
Hallelujah.
Verse 7, and be not like your fathers and like your brethren, which trespass against Yahweh Elohim of their fathers, who therefore gave them up to desolation, as ye see.
All right, so here's King Hezekiah. Let him know, look, that's why stuff is all messed up.
I know, right?
Let me let you know about the history of the Hebrews.
Yeah.
Let me show you what the right way is. And Yahweh's telling them this. So he sent out the letter, says, you children of Israel, turn again unto Yahweh.
Yep.
So if they not turned to Yahweh, what they doing? What the heathen do?
That's it.
There are only two choices.
That's
It
it.
says you turn again to Yahweh, you'll return to the remnant. See that? Even though it seems like it's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Remnant, when you say remnant, that means you had a big old giant
I
something.
know, right?
But then it's just a little piece.
Right?
Why? Because it's Hebrew
It's so
stiff-necked,
obedient.
hard-headed. It's just man's nature.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said, don't be like your fathers. But he said, you escaped out of the hand of the kings of Assyria. In other words, they had been in captivity. The nation as a whole forget Yahweh, started doing heathen practices. All right, go to 1 Kings, the 12th chapter. So he's saying, you know, come to the temple, let's do this officially, like we had been doing it, like Yahweh said.
Right.
1 Kings 12. And so for people that, well, you know, they didn't always do it at the temple, yes they did. And now in 1 Kings 12, you see where this man Jeroboam got nervous. And he made up some heathen stuff to stop the Hebrews from coming back to Jerusalem to do what Yahweh said officially and do it at the temple, keep the holy days at the temple. So what he did was he made up a bunch of stuff, like the heathen with the lion in their right hand, to stop the Hebrews from coming back to Jerusalem. 1 Kings 12, and let's read verses 26 to 33, and I'm probably going to stop you. 1 Kings chapter 12, verse 26.
Praise him.
1 Kings chapter 12 and verse 26. And Jeroboam said in his heart, now shall the kingdom return to the house of David. Verse 27. If this people go up to do sacrifice in the house of Yahweh at Jerusalem, then shall the heart of this people turn again unto their master, even unto Rehoboam, king of Yehudah, and they shall kill me, and go again to Rehoboam, king of Yehudah.
All right, so here now, this man, he understood what the practice was.
Yeah.
They came to the temple to keep the holy days, to keep the Passover.
Right.
It said, he said in his mind, okay, wait a minute now, I got the 10 tribes. Then Judah, you know, Rehoboam got the 2.5 tribe. It said, but now if these people go back up to Jerusalem and, you know, keep the feast days and all that at the temple and go to the temple like they used to, he said, then I'm going to lose them. Hey, if they go to do sacrifice in the house of Yahweh at Jerusalem, then the mind of this people will turn again to Judah, to Rehoboam. Then they'll kill me, and then they'll go back and do it Yahweh's way. All right, verse 28.
Verse 28. Whereupon the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold, and said unto them, it is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Behold thine Elohims, O Yisrael, which brought thee up out of the land of Mizraim.
All right, we're going to stop there, but you can read the rest of the account. So he did pretty much what Aharon did. All right, and then you see down later, he ordained a feast in the 8th month, and he said, okay, you know what, y'all come to the temple on these days. You don't have to go to the temple at Jerusalem, but the point is, Yahweh officially said the temple is where you keep his holy days.
Now his season.
Go to 1 Samuel 13. 2 Samuel 7, rather. 2 Samuel. So these Hebrews are deceived, not knowing that staying in the house is not avoiding the death angel, but it's drawing the death angel to them.
That's it.
2 Samuel 7.
Praise the mighty Yah.
2 Samuel 7. Yeah, they acting like they still in Egypt, waiting for the death angel to pass through, but they got it all up in the house. With the heathen lying there right in, violating the way Yahweh says. 2 Samuel 7, and we want to read one verse, verse 13.
Hallelujah.
2 Samuel chapter 7 and verse 13. He shall build an house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever.
Now here is Yahweh talking about his temple.
Right.
And Yahweh's temple in Jerusalem is not there now, but he tells us to stand and face towards
Yes, he
Jerusalem
does.
and pray towards that holy place.
Uh-huh.
So he has us keep it in our mind. But he said, you set up prototype temples wherever you are.
Right.
Now we don't pray towards this place. Yahweh
Right.
didn't say that about this place. But he said to set up a little sanctuary,
Yes,
a
he
meeting
did.
place where my people can come and
yeah.
hear my word.
Yes.
And he said to set that up and maintain that
Yes.
so they have places to go in the midst of their captivity.
Yes.
And now, but here he's saying, talking about King Dawid was going to build a house for his name
Right.
and establish the throne of Yahweh's kingdom forever. That's what all Yahweh's temples throughout the world are doing. Building a house for Yahweh's name.
Right.
Yahweh's name is not on no Hebrews' houses, the individual houses.
I know,
Now,
right?
sure, we pray and you know,
Right.
everything is good at our house,
Right.
but it's not a sanctified, ordained place
No.
unless Yahweh is starting a
That's
temple
it. Y'all right.
at your house. And then it's only going to be there for a certain period of time, and Yahweh going to tell you to get out.
Right.
He's going to tell you to get out of your house.
Y'all
And
right,
I know
right.
because we were in that position.
Y'all right.
And after 2.5 years of faithfully collecting and giving tithes and offerings, Yahweh said, now you got enough to get out.
Praise.
Get
Right.
out. Start looking.
Yup.
All right. So let's go to Ezekiel, the 11th chapter. So since 70 AD, the Passover deception has spread to the Seder plate
Uh-huh.
with its table set at home, the family passing glasses of wine,
Yep.
chairs set for missing dead people,
I know, right?
and to portable communion packages.
Yeah.
These portable communion packages.
Right. Tell like it is.
Now, I got an article, and when I went to look, I saw 3 ministers. KCM.org, SidRock.org, and JosephPrince.com. How to take communion for your healing.